the parents, they themselves are smokers.
And your parents always tend to become your role model.
It's not possible for them to have that calm space all the time, right?
The idea today is to just try and answer these questions as with the perspective of what you have seen in school, how you see a teenager's life, because I know that a lot of teenagers come to you, they talk to you, or even though if you are around a teenager, you're able to see certain things that a lot of parents might not be able to. Not just parents, but other people who are working with teenagers as well. So teenagers are constantly reading cues at home, like all the emotional cues, be it tone, reaction, moods. Even if a parent is not saying anything, they're reading the body language. A lot of parents still don't understand that. So in your work, how much does parents' emotional state and the way they respond to the teenager's ability to cope, communicate, and how does that actually affect them feeling secure? Now, coming to the topic of exams, let's just take that right now the exams are going on. I think there are a lot of examples there as well. So if you want to take that.
All right, good question. I think it all depends, what we are today. It all depends on the kind of years we have had, during what we had in our childhood. So that is why is it called the formative years, because there you are learning, and your parents always tend to become your role model. You ask any child, they would always tell you that I want to become like my dad, I want to become like my mom. So that is the most common thing that you keep hearing from the child, right? And now when it comes to taking those traits and all of those, yes, of course, how the parent is reacting to a particular situation, whether they are getting angry in the smallest of the things, or they are trying to first, try to kind of problem solve and then maybe reacting to it. So it all depends. I think the child learns all of those traits from the parent, and somehow it shows in their relationships later on. And it is very important to, again, respond to situation. That is what has to be taught to every child, like how we say respond, not react. That is one important line which has to be formed in a child from very early years. That's how they kind to also in school, whenever they have a fight or any ugly situation they face, again, students, what they do first is react. Right? They jump into a fight, they'll just, because that again comes to their ego, right, which might have been again performed while something was happening at home. It could be so. And that's why maybe the child has learned that this is how it is supposed to be. If somebody is pinpointing you in something, then you are supposed to react first, and then probably when once you cool down, then you are supposed to respond, which is the opposite case, right, which is supposed to be opposite. And I think it is very important for the parents, especially in the early years, to be very particular and careful about their moves, how they are speaking to each other, how they are speaking to their relatives, what all they are speaking about the relatives, right? Yeah, and yeah, about the cousins, relatives, and about the friends around them,
The neighbors.
yeah. So that is very important, because the kid learns, and somewhere it just stays in their long term memory. It comes up later on in their life when they have faced a similar kind of situation, and at that time what they will do first, even though we learn so much and adapt to so many things in life, but at the end of the day, when that situation comes into your life, you will always go into gossiping more rather than just putting it under the carpet. I think that's what happens, because you tend to pick up those traits somewhere or the other, right? And it stays with you. So it's important for the parents to kind of, yes, yeah, rather than overthinking about a lot of situations sometimes. Because see, I give a lot of credit to the parents nowadays, because they are actually genuinely trying to understand their kids, as Devashish also mentioned earlier. And kudos to them for trying to actually be present for the kid and understanding them overall holistically. But at the same time, there's a lot of overthinking also going on, because the pressure of being a good parent, bad parent. So that also comes in the picture, where they lose track of that, yeah, the ultimate thing, like how to put those traits in your child, and something that your child will see in you is something that the child will follow later on. Yeah, so I think that way, if you try and focus a lot more in your behavior, in what you're saying, usage of words in the sentences that you're using, yeah, between a couple,
It's a very simple example, I think, and I think it's very important for me to say it out here as well. It might be calling out the parents as well. But for example, your child itself has done something that is funny for you. But at the end of the day, if you point it out and put them down, that's something that they are learning, going back to school. And if somebody does something like that, they repeat it, and that turns into ragging or bullying at the end of the day.
True.
So I think it's very important to see those minute things that you end up doing, because yesterday as well, when I was talking to my family, I could see how I was just mirroring my father. Because how he was sitting in a certain way, I was sitting in a certain way, but both our hands are like this together. It's just those simple
Yeah.
things that we just try to copy. And it's the same thing as you said, that we have these role models in life, right? At the end of the day, and especially for boys, it becomes the father, or the for
Girls.
girls, it can be the opposite as well,
Yeah,
but most
true.
often than not, it's that. So I absolutely agree with how you're saying this.
I think I'll just give you a slightly different perspective,
Mhm.
maybe, which is probably, maybe it might not align completely with your question. But again, if we come back to exams, I think the board exams which are going on, you know, nowadays there's this endemic or this cool thing of smoking.
Hmm.
So a lot of times you'll see that the parents, they themselves are smokers,
Okay.
and you see them, they're smoking, the child sees them smoking, especially when they're stressed out. And what the child does is, immediately when they start feeling stressed out, they
Because
first think that, oh,
this helps.
maybe this
Yeah.
helps, might this, or maybe their friend just comes up to them and tells them, this helps you with stress. That again
This is a
reinforces
signal.
the
Yeah, yeah.
previous view.
Yeah, yeah.
So then this change starts for smoking, and then probably then even then after some time, if the parent leaves smoking, eventually, which I think most people do, uh, but the child now has learned how to smoke, and this continues for the child for a very long time. And I think before long, probably the damage has already been done, and I think the child is already a chain smoker. If it does not continue, that's, I think, very kudos to both, I think, the parents and the child themselves. But I think more often than not, the child continues smoking till a very late age, and then the same cycle again repeats with their children.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I think it becomes a sort of a cycle which continues, and I think it all depends on, again, if we come back to the thing that the body language of parents, it's so such
During
a
small situations
very
as well.
small
Yeah, yeah.
situations, and I don't think someone needs to overtly show them that they're smoking. You just get a hint of smell of that smoke,
Yes, that's
and you
enough.
just, that's
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
that's all it takes. I think that's
When it comes to pressure, I
exactly.
think around exams also, I've seen a lot of children learn from their parent
Yeah,
how they behave when they have stress in their life, when
exactly.
it comes to work or
Yes,
family
yes,
issues
yes.
or anything. If both of them are ending
Yeah,
up
yeah,
fighting,
I
you'll
think
see that if you have two child at home, they'll also
they'll
end up
all end
fighting
up
with each
fighting,
other, because
exactly.
that's, and the child doesn't even know that they are copying it
They're
or they're
copying it,
actually
exactly.
taking it. So it's well put.
As we are talking about body language, we recently had a discussion on it. When we are having a conversation, rather than the words, our body language are observed much more, right? So you will see how I am talking, not talking, how my body language is, how my eyes are moving, how my hands are. Accordingly, you will judge what I'm saying, right? Similarly, for example, I'll give an example of exam. Okay, you did not do well in your exam, so your mom comes home and she says, "Ki, what happened? Why you didn't do well? Look at your brother; he did so well, or your cousin, whatever it is, right?" So the whole scenario, the whole speech, she could have given it in a different way also. This time you did not do well, probably next time you will do better. Okay? So there, rather than her words, her body language were very stiff,
Yeah.
right? So similar thing happening in boards exam. So the kids already have so much of pressure, internal pressure, and if parents say anything to them, it just hypes them up, right? From 20, it will go to 100, and they'll feel like, I cannot do anything.
Yeah.
Even a slightly, if they say even a slight word, if they say ke, kya karo, why aren't you studying, they'll be like frustrated, they'll don't know how to manage it, because they feel ki they are pressurizing me. That's not pressurized, they are just saying as a parent, right?
Yeah.
But what is happening here, since let's say class 4, the same tone, the same thing you have been saying to your kid again and again, right now, even though you're not saying it, but बच्चे का दिमाग में वो तो घुस गया है, it's there in the child's brain,
Mm.
and then mind, sorry, it's there in the child's mind, and because of which abhi kuch bolne se child feels ki I'm getting pinpointed, right? Yeah, and yes, targeted, and it get triggered.
True.
Right.
I get that.
Yes.
I mean, with all the points that you have shared, one of the things that parents actually need to do at the end of the day is be as calm and as communicative as possible rather than dismissing that if their child is coming and they're not in the mood to study and forcing them that no, abhi to padna padega because tomorrow is an exam. I think the investment has to be in a certain way where they ask, why do you not want to study at this point? Have a 5-10 minute conversation, help them actually get distracted, come back to that headspace again where their body is relaxed, and then sit with them for 10 minutes, let them study, get the groove, and then you can actually leave them to study on their own as well.
See, parents are also human. It's not
Yes.
possible for
For
them
everybody,
to,
yes.
it's not possible for them to have that calm space all the time, right?
100%.
But if you are realizing it that you are losing your temper again and again, take a small pause and then come back and talk to the child, because the moment you take the pause, your whole body language changes.
Yes,
Right?
and I think the word this redo itself is very powerful here, where you can actually tell your child then and there that okay, this is not okay. Let me redo it. You go out of the room, come back again, and do the whole thing again in a better way,
Yes.
which helps the child also to understand that there's always a chance to make things better.
Better.
There's always a chance that when you make a mistake, you can actually repair it as well.